Don't give us the bird. Don't give us your stinker eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet Rivers sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Well, welcome in everyone to Betting Weekly Live. It is Wednesday, the 26th of February with Steve Wyss. And I'm delighted to be joined by Will White for this edition, a midweek Premier League card. Bit of an unusual one that me and you would have a chance to discuss, Will, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, mate, it's a bit strange, isn't it, for us to be, well, for me, certainly, to be doing anything other than the Champions League. But we did have a Premier League game on the card last week on the Wednesday. We called it right as well, so hopefully we go well on this midweek Premier League card, which, to be honest with you, looks good on paper. I think from a betting perspective, it's actually quite tricky. Those are my thoughts anyway.
Yeah, I think we are going to dive deep into all the 5 Premier League games today, and also a big look into the Copa del Rey clash. Real Sociedad against Real Madrid. There's matches also around Europe, around the world today, cups going on. So put your best bets in chat, whatever you are taking. How did you get on yesterday? A few comments already about Wolves letting people down, but welcome in to everyone. FGA Football, Paul Laguna, Disky Ming Chung, Dave Clark, Byron, good to see you. Ian as well. Wolves killed him, sadly. Ginepi, good to see you as well. And Adam Thompson likes Forest. I knew there'd be an RB Leipzig comment immediately. Dave Clark is liking RB Leipzig. I can't trust them again after the weekend, Dave. So good luck with that one. But, you know, Wolves were the problem yesterday. Well, I don't know if they were a problem for you. They were the only match with Bear Rivers where the public lost money to the sportsbook. They were a very popular bet. They were generally backed in. But Fulham, who I think are one of the hardest teams to predict in the Premier League, managed to get the win there. There was a few big bets lost in the Wolves game. $7,500 lost on the Wolves double chance live, and also but there was plenty of winners. Crystal Palace Villa was a great one for the bettors with the Asian total live. Nearly over $25,000 was staked on that particular game. Was the Premier League card good for you yesterday, Will? Did you get stung on Wolves, or were you the other way?
I didn't have anything on that game. Big move for Wolves, wasn't there? Based off that Fulham team news, which was they kind of rotated a lot. I had a bad day yesterday, Steve. I was actually regrettably on that under in that Palace game. I looked at that Villa team and I thought, you know, that Emery's setting up quite defensively here, and then Palace at home can be quite low for the goals. So yeah, I was on under 2.75 and really got blown up quite quickly in that one. So yeah, not a great day for me yesterday, but we go again today.
To be fair, you were right with Villa. They hardly offered anything, did they? But the Palace expected goals numbers were through the roof. I couldn't believe that. Really couldn't believe that. Just want to talk through some house specials before we go in, because Bet Rivers have got 4 on the board here. Either Brentford, Everton, or Manchester United, Ipswich to end in a draw. Either of those matches plus 125. Mo Salah or Luis Diaz to score the first goal and Liverpool to win against Newcastle. That's plus 225. Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City all to score 2 or more goals, plus 325. That'll be a popular one. And then the Copa del Rey special later is Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr. or Jude Bellingham to score 2 goals or more in the Real Madrid versus Real Sociedad game. That is at plus 475. And I'll tell you about the notable live streams a bit later, but we're going to get straight into the match. The matches, the Premier League games, the early kickoffs. We'll start at, I nearly said Griffin Park there, but it's the G-Tech Community Stadium now. Brentford against Everton. Brentford were knocking on the door of minus money in the early stages of the week heading into this game, but they have been on a drift here. Plus 117 now with Bet Rivers, and Everton at plus 230. This could be team news related. I think Norgard is out with concussion. There's a lot of injuries on both teams, I noticed, Will, which makes it maybe a little bit difficult. I wanted to get with the under goals here. I was hoping the goal line would be higher than 2.5, because I've got a personal feeling that David Moyes might actually set up defensively. I'm not 100% sure about that. But Brentford-Everton, does this drift on Brentford surprise you or not?
Not really. Like you say, Norgard's out, Jensen's out as well. So they're kind of decimated in midfield. And at the same time, Everton have been super impressive under Moyes. I was with you as well on the unders. I agree. I think Everton will come here and try and look up set up defensively. But the problem I have with that is basically just backing unders in general in the Premier League. Seems to be burning money at the moment. 19 of the last 26 Premier League have gone over 2.5, and I see that as a trend that could continue till the end of the season. I mean, as the weather improves, especially, and Brentford is certainly not a team that springs to mind when I think of unders either. So I guess it's going to be more about who can impose their style on the other. So for me, I'm avoiding the total. I would have backed Brentford -0.25 for sure if one of Norgard or Jensen was playing. Much more reluctant with both of them out. If it continues to drift, though, I might look to get involved in Brentford -0.25 if it gets to kind of even money kind of territory. But one bet I do like is Kevin Schade, actually. Kevin Schade is really starting to find his feet at Brentford. He's becoming a regular starter now and kind of fulfilling his potential. He's averaging 1.02 shots on target per 90. So if I were to recommend a bet for this game, it would be potentially Schade to have a shot on target at -104. That seems way too big when you compare him to the likes of Visser and Mbeumo, that in that kind of front three for Brentford.
Yeah, Kevin Schade let down Lewis Jones on Friday night on the live show. He would have had a 25-1 SGP winner if he hadn't hit the post with that header. Pretty much everyone else scored against Leicester, didn't they? But I think it's interesting here that this is David Moyes' just his third away game since retaking charge of the club. And the first one we would beat Brighton 1-0, which is, I mean, that's a fair result down there to win to 0. And then the 2-1 win at Palace, which I don't really know how that went over, actually. It felt like every chance got taken in the first hour. So I think let's just see, because, I mean, both teams are not really any relegation trouble now. We know it looks done at the bottom, so maybe they can play a bit more open. I would lean under goals. Under 2.5 goals is at plus money, plus 102. But I really want it to be on a 2.75 line under or 3 in an ideal world. In terms of match result, I don't know. I mean, you could make a case for Brentford or Everton, I think, personally. And let's have a look at the chat now here. Bremo, Wisser, Beto, shot on target. Both teams to score over 2.5, said Kinez. Or Kinines, I think is the pronunciation there. Ginepi says he thinks it's a player prop game as well. And Disky says, I hate unders. And there is something about Premier League. There's a new dynamic now, isn't there? In the Premier League, it seems unders are very difficult to get cashed. Even in games that they should be an under, it just goes.
Yeah, it's just the pressing. It's the intensity of the press. And, even if you've got teams that set up with a low block, they're still being forced to play through a very intense press. And so even if Everton do come here and set up super defensively, if Brentford press them hard enough, they might be forced into an open game. So, yeah, it's really, really tough game betting unders in Premier League this season and probably moving forward until stylistically football evolves again.
82% of the money is on Everton in this game on the money line, but 73% of the tickets are on Brentford. So that suggests to me Brentford are more of maybe a public play, but professional money's coming in for Everton. Would that be a fair assessment there, Will?
Yeah. Classic kind of reverse line move. Although I don't necessarily see Everton in this spot as being a professional kind of play. They could be.
Yeah. So you like the Kevin Schade there, shot on target at nearly evens. Would lean under 2.5 goals. It's a difficult game. Brentford are on that drift. So we will move on to the second early game, and I might have a very uncomfortable bet here that I quite like, Will. Manchester, it's not Man United, actually. Man United are the favourites, though, against Ipswich, -205. I just don't really know. -215 now, actually. They've been backed. I don't know who could back Manchester United at minus 215 at this point in time. Ipswich are plus 525 to win at Old Trafford. The tie is plus 360 now. There is actually plus 375, on the tie. Over 2.5 goals at minus 165. Both teams score, yes, minus 137. Yeah, I've got to be honest. Manchester United I want to oppose them all the time at the moment. I was on Everton draw no better the weekend, and I don't know how that didn't win. Everton absolutely destroyed them for an hour. Somehow Man United did come back. I'm desperate to oppose them. Ipswich plus 1 Asian handicap really, really interests me here, Will. But, I mean, bad things happen when you bet on bad teams. And Ipswich are bad. They are bad. So I'm in a bit of a conundrum. I need your help. I need your numbers here. Where are we on both teams? I feel like I need a calculated sort of opinion here to help me.
I can see where you get the inspiration from. Like, my gut tells me as well that I want to oppose Man United, but I think this Ipswich team might not be the team to do it with. Although I'm not really. I think the market is overrating Ipswich personally, but I think the market is also overrating Man United. The thing with Man United is if you just take their data so far this season at face value, they probably should be minus 3/4 here, maybe minus 1. But like, you have to balance that, United essentially being, according to my numbers, so far this season, the 14th best Premier League team. Lost the XG battle in the last 5. You've got to balance that with the potential they have if Amorim somehow does get them to fulfill their potential, and you have to come to some sort of middle ground. And I guess the conclusion I come to with United is I'm happy to take them on in certain spots. The type of spots I'd be thinking of is something like away to a team like a Crystal Palace or a Bournemouth, kind of like in Crystal Palace or Brentford's kind of cases, like a kind of a middle of the league kind of team away from home, especially if you could get draw no bet or minus 1/4. But on this spot, I don't know if Ipswich are the team. So I'll be leaving the main Asian line alone. If I had to force a bet here, I've got to lean on both teams to score, yes, around minus 130. Ipswich have scored in the last 5 in the Premier League and the last 6 overall. United have scored in 8 of the last 10. I think both teams to score, yes, is a little bit too big, although it's only just a lean for me.
It's a big game for Ipswich. I think it means more to them than it does Man United. I think Man United are in this situation in the league now where it doesn't really matter where they finish for the rest of the season. I think they're all in for the cups, if anything. The FA Cup at the weekend against Fulham, and then Real Sociedad, obviously, in the Europa League. At the same time, they can't be embarrassed, can they, in a match like this? If they lose this, there's really is. I mean, there's, I think, a bit of pressure on Amorim already, more externally than internally, obviously. Kieran McKenna, there was some people saying they should have gone for him instead of Amorim. So he'll want to come here and show what he's made of with this Ipswich team. And they are well coached. I think he gets generally the most out of them, but he's not got that many weapons to work with. Ipswich have only lost 2 away games by more than a 1-goal margin this season. That's an interesting stat. Man City and West Ham, for that matter, that was quite early on in the campaign. Some of their poorer beatings have been at home recently rather than away. Whether that means anything, you can make your own mind up about that. But plus 1 Asian handicap for Ipswich, for me, would have to be a lean at plus 102 now. I mean, it's minus 1. It's minus money for Manchester United, minus 1.5. Sorry, minus 1.25. I couldn't take that.
No.
At all.
No, I couldn't take that either. I think it's Ipswich on the Asian handicap or nothing. There's no way I could touch. And Man United minus 1.25. I think if Ipswich were at full strength, I think it'd be easier to take the plus 1. But they've got quite a few out, or at least questionable for this one. And it's not the most inspiring of matchups, really.
This is an interesting one from Adam Thompson. I quite like this in a way, actually. Ipswich Man United half-time, full-time, 20-1. Southampton did that to them, didn't they? They dominated the first half and Man United came back. Everton at the weekend, to a degree, was the same. United, a terrible first-half team. I think, what is it, the stat now? They've not scored in 16 of the last 17 first-half games in the Premier League, which is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, they'll know about that now, so maybe at some point they come out hot to try and prove the doubters wrong. There is a big bet. One of the biggest bets of the day so far, actually, in the Premier League is on Man United money line, $3,000 minus 205. Good luck to that better there. 79% of the money is on Man United, which isn't that high really for a favourite. So, they're not trusted really by the bettors, are they? 56% of the money's on the over. I haven't really got an opinion on over or under. I mean, I'd go under if I had to. It is what it is. And yeah, Paul Laguna, you're right. Always remember you got to bet the winners and not the losers, as Dan Roebuck says. Man United to win from behind plus 650. That's not a bad call, potentially as well. They can wake up sometimes. And then FGA Football says Bruno Fernandes score at any time. He is the one quality player. Like we were saying off air that he is, one of the best players in the Premier League in Europe. If he's in the mood, he can dismantle Ipswich on his own, really, couldn't he? It's a tricky one. I certainly wouldn't trust Man United quite like Ipswich, but you've got to be very careful when you're betting on these poor teams, in my personal opinion. We've still got 3 more Premier League games to talk about. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest. This is a really intriguing clash, and Arsenal have been on the drift. Will here. They opened at minus 133 for this game. You can now get them at minus 104. They were plus money about an hour or so ago as well. So Arsenal not really fancied at all. Desperate for points in the title race. But, I mean, after the losing to West Ham at home and offering very, very little, I don't think it's a great idea to get behind Arsenal at the moment. It feels like their world is kind of falling in on them. Arsenal near enough evens. Will, is that a yay or a nay for you?
It's a nay for me. I think I was kind of teetering on the edge of a Forest plus a half bet here. And then I saw a stat that pushed me over the edge. And that stat is basically, I was a bit concerned that Arsenal have an extra day's rest here. And then I counted how many games Arsenal have played this season and how many Forest have played. Arsenal have played 40 games so far this season. Forest have played 29. 11 less games. We know Arsenal are decimated in attack. And I think that kind of having a day's less rest is mitigated, if not superseded, by the cumulative fatigue potential angle that Arsenal might be not only let down kind of emotionally. I think they've probably given up on winning the league now after that very poor result over the weekend, and obviously Liverpool's great result. But on the other side, Forest, I think Forest are a completely different team at home to away. The last match, last time out at home, obviously they thumped Brighton 7-0. They're pretty formidable at home. They've won 5 of the last 6 at home. The only game they didn't win actually was a draw to Liverpool. I think Arteta will do his best to get this Arsenal team up for this game, but I'm not sure they're going to have it. And at the prices, I don't think Arsenal should be odds on to win this game. I think it's much more likely that that Forest get a draw or avoid defeat. So yeah, for me, Forest plus a half. It was a little bit bigger than minus 120. I think it's currently around about that price. Minus 120 or better, I'd be with Forest plus a half, and that's quite a confident bet, I think.
Yeah, I would lean this way as well. It's very difficult to get behind Arsenal after that performance at West Ham, and this is Forest's sort of perfect tactical scenario. They love being an underdog against a team that has to beat them, and they can just sit in their low block and then counter-attack. He could argue they've got more weapons than Arsenal at the moment in the final third, with Saka out. Arsenal had a striker for a long time. Havertz divides opinion about his absence, and some say, well, he can't finish, but he also adds quite a lot to their game plan.
100%.
Pressing and hard work. So I think he's quite a big miss. Yeah, personally. Okay. Maybe the goals scoring is a little bit different, but it's a big loss. They haven't got another player like him in that sort of false 9 role, whatever you want to call it. FGA Football says Forest go ahead and Arsenal to snatch a draw in the end. That's what happened in the Liverpool game at the City Ground. Under 1.5 goals, says mate SK. And Forest draw double chance for Byron. Arsenal cannot score, says Disky. You liked the under here, didn't you, Will? But the goal line was just a little bit too low for you in the end.
Not really. I think you might be confusing me with another game. That was the Brentford game, Steve.
Sorry. Yeah, I have completely thrown you under the bus there, Will.
It was a bit left field, I'm not going to lie, but I don't even know what the goal line is for this game.
2.25 is the goal line in this game.
2.25 in the Premier League.
Yeah, 2.25 over 2.5 goals. Over 2.25 goals you can back at -117. Under 2.25 goals at -108. Yeah, suddenly your eyes lit up when you saw the 2.25 goal line.
Yeah, no, I couldn't be on the under. Even with Arsenal's kind of lack of weapons, I certainly couldn't be on under in the Premier League. 2.25. Forest at home, it could be a big atmosphere. The crowd, these evening midweek kickoffs. No, not for me. Definitely not the unders. I'm not saying the overs is a bet, but I just prefer the Forest +0.5.
I had a look at all the referee appointments for today, and this is for me the most interesting ref, Andy Madley. Probably the City game ref's actually an interesting one as well. But Andy Madley averages 4.15 cards per game. I just think when the world starts to fall apart for Arsenal, they lose their heads and they can do silly things. And with a lot on the line here, I just wonder if this could be a game which gets a bit dirty. Both managers are known for being quite interesting on the sideline for whatever different reasons. And Madley, the spotlight's on him. After the weekend, he gave the penalty in the Everton Man United game, and then VAR reversed it. I think everyone pretty much, a lot of people thought that he shouldn't have done that. I just wonder what you might want to show who's boss here, Andy Madley. Man in the middle and sort of take no prisoners. And I wouldn't be surprised if his cards did flow, but he has only given one red card this season out of interest. The card line was 4.5. I was looking for a 3.5 card line for those who can access it, but it is worth considering the referee in this game. I think he could be more stricter than normal. Just going through the comments here, Ginepi, I think the game suits Forest really well. And he likes the Forest players for a goal or an assist. That's fair play. That's fair enough. There's some really good comments actually about this. Andres, hello to Stephen Will and the betting community all the way from San Francisco Bay. That is a lovely comment. Thank you very much, Andres. And keep up. What do you like today? Give us your best bet of the day, wherever it might be, in whatever sport as well. Just some splits for this game. 86% of the money's on Arsenal, 79% of those tickets as well. Just 54% of the money is on the under. Over-under is actually split here. You've kind of got a reputation, haven't they, of being strong defensively. Arsenal and Forest can be very mixed with over and unders these days. I think their attack is a little bit underrated, but plus half a goal. That is a dodgeable chance on Forest. That's your bet for the game, Will.
Yeah. That's
strongest play of the day?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, fair play. Okay, then. Two massive games to finish with. Spurs against Man City here. This is a really tasty one. I've got to be honest with you. Tottenham plus 240, Man City -103. I looked at that initially and thinking Man City around evens away from home isn't that appealing. And then it's Tottenham, isn't it? You never really know what version of Tottenham's going to show up, but it has been an improved version of late. Injuries have improved for them massively. I think the goalkeeper coming back has really helped them out. They look a lot more assured with Vicario in the net, not just for making saves, but organising things. And I'm not sure here. This is a tough game. I personally think that the over-underline is really huge. Over 3.5 goals is clear minus money. Man City, where are you on them now? Should they be evens favourites at away in North London?
According to my ratings, that's actually a big price for City. Spurs, I think it just shows that Spurs are probably worse than most people think. Although, like you say, they are getting quite a few players back and they're getting healthier. And so I think there'll be an imminent upgrade for Spurs in my ratings two things are definitely holding me back from backing City. And to be clear, I won't be backing City at these prices. But the fact they've had two back-to-back really grueling games, Liverpool, Real Madrid, back-to-back, that could be very energy sapping. And at the same time, you've got Spurs getting a few back. Brennan Johnson, Maddison, Odegaard, Udogie. That's, 4 players that can come into their squad. 2 or 3 of those will go straight into the starting 11. And, a few weeks ago, Spurs would have 7 kids on the bench kind of thing. They'll be much, much deeper. And that matters when you can make 5 substitutions these days in a football match. And then you've got the Haaland question, right? Is Haaland going to be fit to start or even play a part? Last week, we predicted he'd be out, and he was. This week, don't know. He's probably got more of a chance of playing today, but who knows if he'll start or not. Although I'm not so sure Haaland is such a big miss for Man City these days, and it's crazy to say that, but Marmoush does offer them something different. In a roundabout way, I've really got not much to suggest on this game. I think the total's high. The market's expecting a high-scoring game. It's hard to really see anything other than that. But yeah, 3.5 is a very high line. I think we need to see the team news here and see how both managers set up and just see how much rotation we see from City in this one.
Yeah, and AD makes an interesting point there. Maybe there is some team news because over 3.5 goals now is backable at -108. So possibly maybe Haaland isn't going to be involved certainly from the start. My best Premier League bet of the day comes in this game in the props market. Son to score or assist at +110. He has a very good record against Man City down the years. He's scored 8 goals and had 5 assists against them in 20 appearances, which is pretty good. Where you got to remember he's played against some elite versions of Manchester City down the years, and he actually looked quite good. I know it was against Ipswich, but he can be a streaky player, and his confidence will be up. He'll get chances here. Everyone gets chances against Manchester City now, apart from when Newcastle went to the Etihad the other day. But Ange will have a go, and I still think this Man City team without the ball are very, very gettable. Will no doubt.
I really like that Son play. I looked at him anytime goal scorer is +180, but you're saying he's +110 for anytime goal scorer or assist.
Yeah,
I think that's much better. Like you say, he does like playing against City. He's got a great record against them. And if you get the assist thrown in for just 70 ticks, lower price, and you're still at plus money, I like that too.
Yeah, he's actually there's 3 players in the same market who are favoured greater than Haaland -136, Marmoush -107, and Foden +100. If actually Kevin De Bruyne at +112 is now, it's actually +117
on Son.
Son, yeah, it's gone. It's actually gone up +1. That's huge, I think.
Yeah, I like that.
No doubt about it whatsoever. And Spurs generally have a good record against Man City. I think someone just said that. Yeah, Meslier's goalkeeping coach.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah, he didn't do it this week, did he? Shocking first 20 minutes from Ilan Meslier, just as I was praising him last week. We go again, Ilan. Spurs most corner, says Tristan Wiggill. That's an interesting bet. They do stretch the field, actually. I think their corner stats are through the roof this season. So that would be interesting. Marmoush to score +175, says Fadi Azam. He has given them something different, Marmoush. He's given them an excitement, almost not an innocence, but whereas the rest of the squad has felt tired, a little bit maybe weighed down by a lot of the stuff that's gone on and off the pitch this season. He's just come in and played football, and quite like that, really. What does KitKat recommend? He's not here. He was here earlier in the build-up to the show, but he hasn't made an appearance for a while, Paul. So I don't know what he's fancying. He's still annoyed about the Everton game, Everton-Liverpool, where he didn't get cashed out in regulation with the red card. Okay, this is actually quite a highly wagered game, as you might expect. And 83% of the money is on Manchester City, 75% of the tickets. Biggest prop bet is on Erling Haaland to score. $1,000 on him at +104. Obviously, if he doesn't start, that'll be void. And 82% of the money is on over 3.5 goals, as opposed to the under. So I think you're right, though. Haaland's a big player still, even though I agree with you, he's maybe not as influential as he has been the last 2 years. We've got to see if he's A, in the lineup, or B, on the bench, right?
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily does he start. It's probably unlikely he starts, but is he in the squad? You know, can he come off the bench and give City half an hour if it's a close game? You know, that's almost as important as if he starts or not, I'd say. So yeah, is he in the squad? I think is the question.
It's a strange one. He was on the bench in Madrid, clearly not in any state to come on. Then wasn't in the squad at the weekend. We don't know what's going on. Every year, Haaland gets an injury at some point, by the way. His whole career, wherever he's been, he usually misses about 2 to 4 weeks. And this feels like this is maybe the moment that he's maybe they want to make sure he gets fresh for the run-in, because Man City need to make sure they get as many points as they can for whatever different reasons. Okay, just having a look here. Porro to score assist, says FGA Football. Very attack-minded guy, and he's also taking Marmoush shots on target 2 or more. Marmoush has looked strong, no doubt about it. One final game to discuss. Actually, sorry, before that, the referee, Jared Gillett, he has a really, really high card count, 4.63 cards per game this season. Aussie ref. So that's an interesting one with Ange Postecoglou obviously in charge. But I look back, Postecoglou actually criticised his own countryman after the North London derby this season, said he gave too many yellows out. Said it wasn't a very good refereeing performance. 8 cards he gave out there. So it doesn't look like Jared Gillett and Ange Postecoglou are particularly best friends or anything. I say, when I first saw this appointment, I'm thinking, should that be allowed? But obviously it's happened before in the highest of profile games. And didn't go down too well with Ange. So let's see how Jared Gillett gets on there. Liverpool-Newcastle. Wow, this match has got some history down the years, hasn't it? I remember it last time this was a fixture, I was on the live show, I think with Nigel, and someone came up in the comments and suggested back the 3-3 draw at a monster price, and it ended 3-3. There's been some wild scorelines down the years here.
Yeah.
Liverpool minus 240 now to win the game on the money line. I think that's not a bad price actually on Liverpool, just straight on the money line. But there's no Arne Slot. It's been announced today he's not going to be on the sidelines for the game. The Liverpool manager is missing in action. Would that factor the odds for you in the game? Is that a huge thing?
I was going to ask you the same question, Steve. I don't know. To be honest, it happens so rarely. Well, I guess it happens more these days, doesn't it, than in the past?
A lot more nowadays.
Yeah, probably should start to factor that in. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I watched Sheffield United Leeds on Monday. Daniel Farke was set up in God knows where. He was so high up at Bramall Lane. And, Leeds obviously started so badly. But he's on his phone all the time to whoever he needs to be told what to do. They'd have had a game plan. I think that he's allowed in the dressing room at halftime.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's a bit. I was going to ask. It's a bit of a cop out if they're allowed in the dressing room, isn't it? And I think that really does mitigate the potential negative effects. If he's allowed in the dressing room, especially at halftime or before the game, it's.
I'm not sure if that is actually true or not. I remember Mourinho was smuggled into a dressing room in the what was it, the laundry basket or something back in the day. I'm sure he could find a way into the dressing room at Anfield if he wanted to. But I mean, fundamentally now onto the betting for the game. Minus 240 Liverpool. Generally, you can back him on a -1 Asian handicap here. Newcastle is as big as plus 550. The two teams will meet in the Carabao Cup final at the middle of March, I think it is. So it's kind of a prelude to that. Where's the value here, Will, if there is any?
Well, looks like there was some early Liverpool value. There's been a lot of money for them this morning. They're now minus money on the -1.25 main Asian line, and as you guys see on screen, minus 240, and the winner will win. So I think all the value there in the Asian handicap is gone, but I can kind of see why. Like, if I were to ask you, Steve, which is the better team, this Liverpool team or the City and Arsenal teams from last season, what would you say?
The better team of the three of them, would say Liverpool's would be the third best, yeah.
The third best?
probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the data, the XG data anyway suggests that they're the best of the three.
Better than the Man City?
Yeah, though that's just if you take the pure expected goals data, which is one way of looking at performance, right? Yeah, 1.37 XG supremacy per 90 for Liverpool this season. City were 1.33 last season, and Arsenal were 1.28 last season. So this Liverpool team, according to the underlying data, are very, very strong. So we backed Villa. We backed Villa plus 3/4 last week on the Wednesday show last week, and that one. But I think Newcastle are just a bit too vulnerable away from home for me to be confident looking at them on the plus 1.25 line. So Asian handicaps no bet for me. And I did want to back the over 3, but that's also been smashed in. Both teams are averaging over 3 total XG per 90 over the season. So I thought that was a strong bet, but that's long gone. I think the main line is 3.5 now. And it's hard to really get expired to be looking at the over there. It's interesting in terms of formation. Liverpool have kind of set up differently the last couple of games, haven't they? They've kind of gone with 4 men in midfield and kind of two strikers with Salah and Jota or Diaz or Gakpo if he's back here. I think they'll go back to the traditional kind of 3. I think Gakpo will be back in the squad here, and they'll probably go 3 up and 3 in the middle. But then at the same time, I think Newcastle might switch to 5 at the back here, which Eddie Howe has been known to do in kind of these bigger games where they're essentially an underdog. So we might see both teams switch formation, and they balance each other out in the sense that Liverpool potentially more attacking, Newcastle potentially more defensive. What does that mean in terms of the total? Well, it basically means, quite boringly, it's no bet for me there either. I wanted to back Mo Salah, anytime goal scorer. He's been plus money in way too many games so far this season. He scored 25 in 27 games, which is insane that he's been trading odds against for so many games this season. But he's minus 121 here. I can't see a world in which that price would drift, but if he does somehow drift and the Bet Rivers traders are feeling generous, I think minus 110 and above would make Salah a bet there to get on the score sheet.
Yeah, both Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright have official plays on this game in the Premier League show. You can give that a watch. I think Nigel has got a same game parlay, and Jack has got a hot dog, I do believe. It does revolve around Mo Salah. So do check out that show. Just looking now, Charlie. It's an interesting point that Farke attributed Leeds' first 20-minute performance there on him not being on the sideline. But then I guess the noticeable thing is how easy it is to correct that just by getting a phone call across or a message across the coaching staff. You would have thought it maybe would have continued with him not being there. What I'll say about Arne Slot is you're right. He's changed a few things up of late. In fact, midway through the first half against Man City, he completely changed it because Foden was giving him problems, especially, but he counteracted it really well. But it's not just one man, is it? It's the whole coaching team. So, this is going to be a good test of that coaching team. Can Eddie Howe bamboozle them a bit? Sometimes I just don't know with Howe. There's at times I really love what he does. Eddie Howe, he looks like the next England manager. And then you go to the Etihad and he just put up a stinking tactical game plan, offered nothing. So I don't know. Eddie needs to see what you got, Eddie, today. I mean, we get a lot of Newcastle fans in the chat. Are you confident or not about this game? I think one Newcastle fan wasn't particularly.
Oh, if Botman doesn't start.
Yeah. But yeah, we do have a lot of Newcastle fans that come in. I don't know how confident or not they are about this game. Someone was mentioning the cards as well. We do have a really card happy ref in the middle. Chris Kavanagh has been, his numbers are through the roof this season. They're absolutely outrageous numbers. The last time that he actually refereed a game was in Europe last week, Ajax against Union Saint-Gilloise. He issued 13 cards in that game, 2 penalties. The cards were being thrown like confetti, but in the Premier League, he averages 5.5 cards per game this season and 7.5 cards a game in the Europa League. That's in 5 games. All right, the last match might distort the average. But this, Chris Kavanagh is not hanging around. So if you like cards here, over 4.5 cards is at minus 120. If you can back that, maybe you could target some individual players. This is a crazy fixture down the years. Last season, Liverpool racked up 7.2 expected goals in a 4-2 win. I think that's the highest ever expected goals has been. I think that was a record, unless it got beaten. There's often a lot of shots in the game between these two sides. I looked at, for those who can access this side market, over 28.5 shots is -117. That could be worth a look. I think Liverpool especially will pile them in here. It's going to be an exciting game. So, good luck whatever you are taking there. Andres says he really likes the Reds in this match after some revenge from St. James's Park. Liverpool did equalise late. FGA Football, both teams score, yes, and over 3.5. Worth looking at there. Meninda, how about both teams scoring over 2.5? And got a draw with goals like a 2-2. I mean, the 3-3 came out of the woodwork. It's 35-1, by the way, today, if you want to back 3-3 draw. That actually looks a little bit short to me. I think I'd want at least 50-1 on that if you are into correct score betting. And loads of player prop markets as well. Loads of action on the game. I think it's the most wagered on game of all the Premier League games so far. 95% of the money's on Liverpool, 96% of the tickets, and 86% of the money's on the over. So, that's the Premier League sorted. There's loads of domestic cups going around in Europe today. We've got French Cup. We've got the DFB Pokal in Germany. Probably the biggest standout match is in the Copa del Rey. Yesterday's fixture was bonkers. Well, I'm sure you're off at the edge of your seat watching that one. Barcelona, how have they blown that lead against Atletico Madrid? 4-4 draw. Don't think we're going to get the fireworks like that here in the Basque Country. In fact, over 2.5 goals is at -122. Real Sociedad against Real Madrid, +100 on Real Madrid to win the game. The most important factor I've learned down the years with betting in Copa del Rey and actually any midweek Spanish game is team news. You've got to be on top of it, Will. So where are we in terms of the expected 11s for this game?
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat last night. What a game. What a team. But yeah, enough about Barca. Mbappe's out for Real Madrid here. He's not in the squad. I think he had a tooth removed or something. I don't know, some operation on a molar. I think is kept him out here. And I went and did a bit of a dig on Mbappe's influence at Real Madrid this season, because most people, certainly at the beginning of the season, were skeptical. But there are some crazy stats out there, not least Real Madrid's XG, expected goals differential per 90, between Mbappe being on the pitch and Mbappe off the pitch. Mbappe evidently increases Real Madrid's XG differential per 90 by 1.92 goals per 90 minutes when he's on the pitch versus
he's worth nearly 2 goals when he's on the pitch.
That's what the data says, and I think sure there are some caveats around there, like how much time has he actually spent off the pitch for Real Madrid this season? How much? What's the sample size on Real Madrid without Mbappe this season? Well, it's actually 250 minutes of football, which is almost 3 full 90 minutes, and in those 250 minutes, or almost 3 full 90 minutes, Real Madrid's XG difference per 90 is -0.67. So that data shows that Mbappe is critical for Real Madrid so far this season. If you compare that with Vinicius Jr., supposed Ballon d'Or winner Vinicius, his Real Madrid's XG differential per 90 so far this season is -0.56. Essentially, they would have been better off without him. I know the Vinny fans out there are going to hate me for these statistics, but I'm just trying to portray, just how critical the data suggests that Mbappe has been for Real Madrid this season. So yeah, he's not in the squad. The market adjusted. I guess the next question is, has it adjusted enough? And it moved. Real Madrid, I think, were about -120 on the money line, and now they're kind of just into plus money. I don't think it's moved far enough, basically. There's no Valverde, there's no Courtois. And I like Real Sociedad +0.5. I'm hoping they'll go full strength. It's not certain. They've played a lot of football so far this season, Real Sociedad. But if you can get anything around -120 or better, I think Real Sociedad are the bet here. In regards to the total, I wanted to back the over 2.5, but clearly Mbappe being out has more influence on the attack rather than the defense of Real Madrid, and so it's a big negative for the overs. So I'm pretty neutral on the total now. But yeah, I really like the Real Sociedad bet plus a half. It should be a big atmosphere. They really can get their crowd going at home, Real Sociedad, and be a 12th man for them. So yeah, Real Sociedad plus a half.
Yeah, I agree. I think my best bet of the day is in this game. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive. I'm going to back them plus a quarter of a goal at minus 103. I even looked at the draw no bet plus 148 or even the money line at plus 400. Let's just remember, this is not a one-off game. This is a two-legged affair. So Real Madrid could easily lose this game and win the second leg in Madrid to get them through to the final if they need to. And I think realistically, Real Sociedad probably do need some sort of lead if they want to make the final of this competition. I think they'll be up for it because in La Liga, they're going to be mid-table. They're all in for the cups this season. The Europa League, the final is in the Basque Country at Bilbao's ground. And of course, Athletic Bilbao won this cup last season, I do believe. They're big rivals. So they will want to get on lift the trophy themselves. Though I really hope they go full strength. It'd be just like them to rest players, wouldn't it? Here, it does my head in when La Liga sides do this. But even looking at that, Mbappe out, Courtois has been rested, Valverde has been rested. Apparently, they've still obviously got injuries to Militao, Carvajal. I think at some point that Real Madrid have kind of got to, for want of a better word, give up a game, if you know what I mean, where they've got Champions League. They've got really tough games there. They're in a La Liga battle. This is probably the one game they can just, I don't want to use the word take it easy, but if they lost this, say 1-0, it's not the end of the world, is it? So I think this is the game.
Yeah. I mean, they tried to. They did that in the last round of Copa del Rey. I think they pretty much fully rotated against Leganes, I think it was, in the last round. But Leganes are just quite poor. And the second string, Real Madrid, won fairly convincing. I think it was maybe 3-2 in the end or something, but it was pretty convincing. I can't see them doing the same here. Real Sociedad, a much better team. And, this is a semi-final at the end of the day. And if they do go through, they'll be playing Barcelona or Atleti in the final. And the Copa del Rey, despite the rotation, the tradition of rotation in the earlier rounds, is still quite a big deal in Spain, especially when it comes down to the final four and you've got the big three still left in the competition. So they will be taking this seriously. And Ancelotti's not really one for rotation anyway. I think Valverde was due a rest. Lunin, I think, has been playing in the cup anyway. He's their cup keeper. And Mbappe, whatever's happened with his tooth has happened with his tooth. And it's a good opportunity to rest him, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope they are toothless in attack without him. But Giuseppe does make a good point. Endrick, I'm guessing, may well get the start here then, the young, talented Brazilian. I do like him as well. Watch his technique. He takes the shot very early, a low drive. I don't know what his price is to score. This is just in general for him in the future, to score from outside the box. Because I think he'll get a few goals from outside the box with this technique. He surprises goalkeepers with this low, rasping drive. Just that's what I think of Endrick at the minute. Giuseppe, yes, Real Sociedad, they're definitely all in for the Europa League as well. They could probably rest a few players against Man United, to be fair, couldn't they, next round? Quite a nice draw for them. I say, for me, best bet of the day, plus a quarter of a goal, Real Sociedad, minus 103 here. I certainly don't think they'll lose the first leg. You really like that, plus a half goal. So a draw is a full cash for you, Will. And let me just give you some splits for this game. We've got 99% of the money is on Real Madrid, as you might expect. And, they always are a big public play, but I'll be very cautious against Real Madrid here. Just hope that Real Sociedad are pretty strong with that 11. So, Will, before we go, what is your best bet of the day overall, would you say?
It's got to be Forest plus a half. I think that's slightly better than Real Sociedad.
Yeah, for me, the Real Sociedad game is my best bet. And my best bet of the day in the Premier League is Son to score or assist at plus 117 now against Manchester City. Do check out that Premier League show, like I said, with Nigel Dan and Jack Wright. They've got some big plays today, and also the newsletter as well. Please subscribe. Jack Wright has an exclusive newsletter pick for that game. Rory Giwani's had a winner of the newsletter already this week. The newsletter is in significant profits. Notable live streams that you can watch on the BrettRivers.com or the app. And pretty much all the cup action is available. Brest versus Dunkirk in the Coupe de France. Stade Briançon against PSG. I've not even looked what the handicap is there, Will, against for PSG against part-time club. It's probably about -4. Benfica, Braga in the Taça de Portugal. PSV Eindhoven against Go Ahead Eagles in the Dutch Cup. That's a tasty one. 3 Scottish Premiership games as well as all of the ATP Tour and WTA tennis is available to be live streamed. But yeah, and also there is the Pokal. I don't know if the Pokal is available to live stream or not, Peter, but Wolfsburg plus a half. Yes, if I was to bet blind on the game, then I would be against RB Leipzig after they badly let me down on Sunday. It was one of my worst matches of the entire season, Will. Absolute disgrace from Leipzig there. I couldn't back them with a monopoly money now for the rest of the season. So, but it'd be just like them, wouldn't it, to rock up and win? So, yeah, that's why I knew we'd be pressed for time with a lot of the other matches today. RB Leipzig are not in my good books, but thank you very much, Will. It was an absolute pleasure as always.
Yeah, I did notice you left Leipzig out of the lineup, and I can understand why, Steve. They're tricky team to call, and but if you look at them on paper, you know they do have a much better team than this Wolfsburg team. But yeah, it's really hard to back them with any confidence, and they keep letting bettors down. So yeah, I haven't really got much to say.
So that cup is a weird one. There was a team, I think, from Division 3 made the final last season or 2. It was Kaiserslautern, I think, wasn't it? And then last night, I noticed Arminia Bielefeld beat Werder Bremen.
Yeah.
That's a big shock.
And after beating Freiburg and Union Berlin, I think, in the previous 2 rounds.
So that is an absolute nightmare for bettors, and it's almost as bad as the French Cup down the years, but we're used to that in the French Cup. Shocks do happen. Dunkirk, Brest, probably Brest, but look at Cannes won last night, Division 3 side in France. There was an incredible goal from the halfway line. Just check out the social media. Cannes got a great history in France, but we could go on about that another day. Take care, everyone. Remember to gamble responsibly. Best of luck, whatever you are taking. Betting Weekly live tomorrow with Dan Roebuck and Rory Giwani is going to be joining us. So plenty of tennis talk tomorrow. There's also one other Premier League game. But from me and Will White, it's goodbye, and we'll see you next time.